And Senator Mike Lee taking to the CPAC stage and blasting big government.
We must remember that whenever government becomes too involved in anything, bad things happen. Is it any wonder that the vast majority of Americans have little to no confidence in government, and that they have even less confidence in Congress, as manifest by Congress's current approval rate of about 15%, which, by the way, makes us as members of Congress just a little more popular than Raul Castro, and only slightly more popular than the influenza virus. But the virus is catching us quickly.
Slightly more popular than influenza. So what does Congress have to do to change that? Senator Lee joins us. What does Congress have to do to change that?
I think Congress has to acknowledge the fact that it's not all powerful, that there are limitations on what Congress can do, and also on what it should be doing from a constitutional standpoint.
You spoke a lot today about civil society at CPAC. Where is that civil society, and are you talking in Congress?
I'm talking about institutions of civil society, those things that exist outside of government that have made our country prosperous and free and successful for centuries, things that don't rely on government, things that just exist because we're free.
What is the point? I just asked Speaker Gingrich about CPAC, but what do you see as sort of the purpose or the point or the relevance of CPAC?
It's a place where conservatives can gather. It's outside of any political party construct, where conservatives can share ideas. As he mentioned, the great Ronald Reagan made some important appearances at CPAC early in his political career, in his national political career, and helped launch a movement. And there's sort of a conservative renaissance going on right now of its own kind, and it's a good thing to be a part of.
And the straw poll, is that something significant?
Oh, I don't know. Straw polls are fun to conduct. They're fun to look at. We're still several years away from the next presidential election cycle, and so I'm not sure how much they mean at this point, but they make things entertaining.
How come there isn't a lot of focus on waste and fraud in the city? I hear the discussions either spending or taxes, and once in a while you hear closing loopholes. But there's just, there's so much waste and fraud that you, just go scoop up a lot of money. You talk about 82 or 85 billion in sequestration funds. I could find it in waste and fraud just going through the GAO reports.
Yeah, you could, and that's one of the reasons why we as conservatives focus so much on the sheer size and scope of the government. The best way to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, Greta, is to limit the size of government and to make sure that you don't just raise taxes every time you start falling short. You've got to cut spending, and that's where you find it out where the waste is.
Did you find President Obama has, do you appreciate his reaching out to the Republicans the past week?
Oh, of course. Look, it's great. There's no question that it's nice to be considered. It's nice to have him come up to Capitol Hill. We enjoyed meeting with him today. We don't necessarily agree on a lot, but it is a nice gesture. It's been a couple years since he has met with us as all Republican senators.
So what did you get out of it?
I got out of it basically what I expected to, which is we heard a lot of the same messages that we hear from the president every week. In many respects, it felt a little like a press conference without the press.
And what did he get out of it, do you think?
Well, he probably heard from us a lot of the things that he hears from us in the press. But, we did communicate to him some of the things that concern us. One of my favorite moments was when one of my colleagues stood up and said, Mr. President, it's not all that helpful to have you publicly questioning our motives, publicly accusing us of wanting to eviscerate Medicaid, for example, simply because we want to call for reform or block grants.
And his answer was?
I don't speak nearly as badly about you as some of you do about me, which I think is unfair.
That sounds like a schoolyard.
Well, exactly.
I guess it's nice to be candid and everything, but...
It struck me as somewhat sophomoric, but the point is, I don't see a lot of Republicans, especially Senate Republicans, standing up and openly questioning the president's motives from the standpoint of not caring about people.
Then when he said that, what was said back to him?
Not a whole lot. We moved on.
Really, no one got back that? That ended the whole dispute. That ended the whole sort of exchange.
Yeah, a lot of us had to restrain ourselves from, raising our hand at that moment or calling him out on it.
Who asked him that?
It was John Thune, and I thought he did a great job in asking the question. He was deferential in the way he did it. I thought it was a point that needed to be made. But the president's response was unsatisfactory, and it overlooked the fact that most of the time, sure, we criticize him, but we generally don't question his motives. We generally don't question whether or not he genuinely cares about the American people. And that's a problem. That is a difference.
Senator, thank you. Always nice to see you, sir.
Thank you.